Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the keys to recovery. If you've ever injured yourself, especially your back, you know how scary and confusing it can be to figure out how to get back into lifting in the gym, how to deadlift, how to squat without fear of re-injuring yourself. Today I'm going to give you the 3 keys to recovery so that you can get back into the gym and start feeling like a badass under that barbell again. Hi, I'm Dr. K, Kristen. I'm a doctor of physical therapy and a rehab and strength coach. I work with women primarily online and in person to return back to lifting in the gym after injury. If this sounds like something that you're into, then go ahead and give my channel a follow so you don't miss any tips and tricks every week. So the first key to recovery is basically how much you're dealing with in your life, or if you want to use an analogy, how full your cup is. So we want to look at your overall life as a cup of water. And basically the contents of that cup are things like your relationships, your social circle, your hobbies, your hydration, your sleep, your nutrition, your mental well-being, any spiritual practices you might be involved in, and also things like getting out into the nature, getting in the sun, grounding yourself in the earth, things like that. So these are kind of the things that you think of when you hear self-care, the things that rejuvenate you, revitalize you, and allow you to have more inside of you to bring out into the world. So then on this cup, there's also a little tap at the bottom that kind of like, when it's open, the water comes out and the cup drains. So things that contribute to that tap, the flow of the tap, are things like basically overall stress in your body. So you want to think of the typical things, like if you're stressed at work, if your boss is an asshole, if you have the Sunday scaries, your kids are acting up, you have a lot of family drama going on, your relationship is kind of rocky, things like that, overall stress. Also, if your sleep is not the best, then that can definitely, open that tap super wide. So while the tap can seem like it's mostly negative things, it can even be positive things like exercise, because while it is a good stress on your body, it's still a stress nonetheless. And if you are exercising a whole bunch, your tap is open when you exercise. And if you're not recovering, if you're not sleeping, if you're not filling up your cup with the other things that I mentioned before, then you're always gonna have a little bit less in your cup than you would otherwise have if your recovery was a little bit better. So basically with this whole cup analogy, we see that there needs to be a balance between what you're putting into the cup and what is coming out of the cup. And I don't think that necessarily overflowing the cup is a bad thing, like putting a whole bunch of good things into it from your life. And if you know how to do this, then just let me know, asking for a friend. But anyway, if your stressors of your cup are too much, then we see the cup get drained and drained and drained, and you're running at a negative balance. What that means is that the stressors in your life are just too much for you to recover from, and this is when we enter injury territory. When the stressors on your body and your life in general, all of these things together are too much for you to recover from, so your stressors are up here and your ability to recover is here, this is when injuries happen, because it's basically an overloading of the system. Another way to think of this is that your body just wasn't ready for the demands that you were putting on it. Not that anything you were doing was necessarily bad, but that your ratio was probably not in the best place. Notice that nothing is inherently bad about the movements that you're doing themselves. For example, deadlifting, squatting, cleaning, snatching, whatever it is. Nothing is inherently bad about these movements. It's more about your ability to tolerate that movement in that moment. So now that we understand the cup analogy, the second key is your tissue tolerance to load, or basically how strong your muscles are. So the cup of life analogy is very important to understand that there's a lot of different things that affect your ability to recover, like things that have nothing to do with your actual body, like we talked about. But at some point, since it is a physical motion and we are in physical bodies, the physical strength does make a difference. Basically, it comes down to how strong your tissues are to tolerate the load that you're putting on them. And strength means the power to resist force. So how much weight can you lift in general? How well can you control the load? For how many repetitions can you lift it? Or even how long you can resist gravity. in a plank. So strength can show up in a couple different ways in your body. The first way is, the way that we all know about. If you lift weights for a certain amount of time at a certain load on your body that you actually have to put effort into, then you're gonna get stronger over time if you keep doing it over and over. But there's also a big component of strength that has to do with your brain. Basically, if your brain is perceiving that there's some sort of threat going on in your body, if it thinks that the load that you're putting onto it is a little bit dangerous, or if you've injured that area in the past, then your brain will shut down your strength. If it sees what you're doing as a threat, then it's not gonna allow that body part to produce a bunch of force because it thinks that that is a dangerous thing to do and the alarm bells are going off and we're not doing that today. So if that's happening, then your strength is not going to be there. You're not going to be able to tolerate the loads that you're asking either, because your brain is saying that this is not okay for us to be doing right now. So this is another thing that we need to keep track of on your road to recovery. Along with the cup of life, filling up your cup enough to tolerate the load, we also need to make sure that the brain is chill enough that we can be making some strength gains safely without the brain just shutting us down and not letting you actually get stronger. Some examples of how to do that would be something like foam rolling, massage therapy, massage guns, or also something called directional preference, which is how I personally use to treat pain. Basically, we find a direction of stretch in whatever body part in question is in pain. We find a direction of stretch in that area that is new and novel to your brain, so that when we stretch it in that direction, that way the receptors in this area are like, oh, that's new and different, and that signal comes up to the brain. The brain is getting a different signal than usual. It's not getting that danger, pain signal, it's getting something different. And so that can help to reduce the pain sensation that you're feeling. And if this is super confusing for you, then let me know and I can make another video about it. It took a while for me to figure it out, but I do think it's extremely helpful in helping people reduce pain so that they can actually start to lift weights again. And then the final key to overcoming pain is gradually progressing the load on your body. Maybe you've heard of it in the form of progressive overload or graded exposure, some fancy terms, but pretty much just starting where you're at, meeting you where you're at, and then progressing little by little over time. Keep drawing graphs with my hands in various directions. I did really well in math in school. So anyway, the same thing that you've seen, progressive overload in the gym, is the same that we have to do in physical therapy. And I have seen this not be employed very well, to be honest, in most clinics. It's usually 3 sets of 10 of like a little banded exercise, forever and ever, amen. And it's just like, that's just it. So, but anyway, not here. We actually progress ourselves over here in this corner of the internet. So throughout the process of building you back up, it's really important to understand your body's feedback signals, because we want you to lift heavier weights, but your body may not exactly be ready for it just yet. And we need to respect that. And in order to figure out from your body whether or not something is okay or whether it's too soon, is to understand your body's pain signals. So for this, we want to think of a pain scale. I'm gonna make another graph. 0 is nothing, 10 is emergency room, 5 is pretty moderate. So we're on this timeline. So basically, we don't ever wanna go past a 5. Over a 5 is gonna trigger that alarm in the brain again. It's gonna shut things down. It's not gonna allow you to produce as much strength as you can. And it's just gonna not feel comfortable, frankly. So we wanna stay at a 5 or below. So I would say anywhere from 0, pain obviously, to maybe a 2 or 3 is a good place to start, because it means that we're in the right area, stimulating the area that needs to be worked a little bit, but we're not pushing it past the 5 territory and into brain shutdown protective mode. So I would recommend starting out at a 0 to 2, 3-ish on your pain scale for the first little bit of the exercises that you're going to be doing. And then over time, we want to maybe progress it a little bit further, maybe a 3 or 4, just to test the waters, to see how far you can get before it becomes a little bit too much pain. And then you know that that's your threshold, and we won't go past there, at least for a couple weeks, if not a month. So it's kind of annoying that you have to, go super light, do these movement variations that you're not used to doing. And you're like, can I just deadlift already? If you do too much too soon, your body's gonna shut it down. So my biggest piece of advice then is to listen to your body and just accept that you are where you are right now, and know that as long as you're continuing to do little by little things that are a bit uncomfortable, but you stay consistent, that this is the way to recovery. Okay, so to recap the 3 keys to recovery that I went over today. Number 1, how full is your cup of life? How well are you integrated into your surroundings, into your community, your friends, your family, your relationships, your sleep, all these things. Just fill up your body and allow you to better withstand anything that you want to do in your life. The second key is how strong you are already and how strong your brain is allowing you to be. Because we want to challenge our muscles as much as we can in order to rebuild your strength and get back into the gym. But we also have to keep in mind, if your brain is on high alert, you might not be as strong as you can be in that moment. And there's ways to tackle that too. And then number 3, how quickly are you progressing your load? Using the pain scale, 0 is nothing, 10 is emergency room. We want to stay between 0 and 5 to make sure that we're adequately loading, but not overloading and potentially putting you at a risk for regression. So these 3 things are super important if you're wondering how the you're gonna get back to lifting in the gym and where to start out on your rehab journey. If you found this helpful, go ahead and like my video. Thank you. Send it to anybody who you know who is trying to get back into lifting, but their insert body part here has been bothering them for 3 months and they're just not where they want to be. And if that's you and you want some help with this, you can go ahead and book a free discovery call with me. There's a link in my bio for that. There's also a link for a free ebook about treating your own back pain if you're interested in this sort of thing and you want to give it a go yourself. I have a whole program laid out there for you if you want to check that out. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye.